Right, welcome back to the Young Fan Podcast and welcome to another League One Roundup show. Match week 24 began yesterday. Don't worry, Derby, Bolton, Cambridge United, Lincoln City fans, I haven't forgotten about you. You play each other tonight. I am fully aware, but I couldn't waste this opportunity to not talk about yesterday's fixtures. I'll be speaking about your game on the live preview show tomorrow. I haven't forgotten about you, but we had 10 games yesterday and they really didn't disappoint. 4 selected games as per usual, but we'll be touching on all of the games at the end of the episode as well. Some absolute corking fixtures, and like I say, I couldn't waste the opportunity to chat about them. I'm so excited to break some of these down. Some really decisive, some just absolutely thrilling encounters. Please make sure you let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of your team's performance yesterday. Maybe you haven't played yet. Maybe you want to give your last minute prediction ahead of the games tonight as of recording this on Friday morning. Please do leave a like. 100 likes on the roundup would be absolutely incredible. We're hitting 100 likes regularly now, and that's all down to you. Thank you so much. It's free to do so. Hit that like button. It helps the reach and the growth of the podcast, and that's all really what I'm trying to do right now. Please do subscribe as well. The subscriber count is growing by the second. Again, that is 100% down to you being amazing people. Please do that. Let's get straight into it. Let's start off with Oxford United against Charlton. So, Oxford United fans, Charlton fans, it was going to be always quite a fascinating game. Oxford were 15th going into this game. I believe Charlton were 17th. The XG for this game, it finishes Oxford 3, Charlton 1. The XG 2.14 to Charlton's 0.88. So, of course, as an Oxford fan, I'm absolutely delighted with the result. In the first half, I was really impressed as well. Second half, it was a slightly different game of football. It almost felt a little bit of a game of two halves. Charlton really did improve in that second half. They scored their goal in the second half as well, but Oxford killed it off in the last 10 minutes of the game. Gatling O'Donkor, the substitute, came on in the 82nd minute, and like I say, really did finish that game off with the third and really important goal. But I want to touch on that first half. We came out of the blocks, first 10 minutes or so, not brilliantly. But then when we hit gear, when we hit momentum, you can see by looking at the graph here as well, we absolutely took control of the game. And maybe the frailties of Charlton, the lack of confidence at Charlton at the moment with that football club, and the players as part of that, not really hitting the mark. Maybe we smelt blood in that sense. Maybe we sort of really hit a level of, confidence, really. We looked like we were playing with real confidence. We were passing it around the attacking areas with utter ease. And this season, we've been really critical, Oxford fans, of not being able to do that. The movement in the final third was absolutely exceptional in that first 45 minutes and aspects of the second half. And, last season, the season before that, and really since Carl Robinson has come into the football club, that's been something that we've done really well. For some reason, I think for many reasons, we haven't been able to do that so far this year. But if this is the start, at the end of the calendar year, the season, if this is the start of that, and we've got some, another home game on New Year's Day against Exeter, we're not completely out of the race yet. It's so open. Again, I'm not going to be silly and thinking we're definitely going to do it. I don't even think we are going to do it. I just do think we've got to try and stay in the pack and stay in the mix. And a game against Charlton at home, really, when looking at both sets of sides and the form they're in, is a really important victory. I want to talk about Josh Murphy as well, because Josh Murphy on this right-hand side, and he did actually swap wounds with Billy Bowden a couple of times. He actually interchanged really elegantly. But I thought Josh Murphy was absolutely brilliant. Absolutely exceptional in that first 45 minutes. He was so good on the board. As a technical player, I'm so excited to see more of Josh Murphy. He got the assist for the first goal. It was a brilliant whipped cross, actually on the ground, and actually surprised, I think, a couple of defenders. I think they didn't really know what type of ball they were going to get with Josh Murphy, because before that he was playing balls into the into the sort of centre circle with a little bit of height. He actually tried to, it was quite a powerful cross on the floor, and it, again, like I say, really did surprise a couple of people. And Billy Bowden was there, creeped all the way through, and Bowden was there to tuck it away. And that, I think, was a little bit of quality that we've been missing, I think, on those wide areas. We know how important the flanks are. We've been saying it timeless amounts of times, really, since the season started. The wingers and the wide players have been something that we really haven't taken advantage of. And maybe they haven't been there. Maybe that's why we haven't been able to take advantage of them. But we haven't used the wide areas in the way that we have done in previous years, or we have had great success. And yesterday, Josh Murphy and Billy Bowden, both of those had really good games. I was really impressed by them. Another shout out has to go to Lewis Bate in midfield. He was brilliant once again. And you can see the Premier League, and I don't want to say, I don't want to go too far with this, but You can see the Premier League quality in Lewis Bay. I don't want to go over the top with that lad, but you can tell he's been at Chelsea at youth level and played a lot of minutes for their academy team. Now moving at Leeds United, where we've got him on loan from currently. He's played a couple of Premier League games last season, played a lot of under 23 games and under 21 games at Leeds United. He trained with the first team and he played a lot of pre-season with Leeds, and you can see why. You can see why Leeds are excited about Lewis Bay in the future that he's got. He's an exciting midfielder. He brings energy. You can see in injury time, we're 3-1 up, he's pressing the goalkeeper like it's the first 2 minutes of the match, and that is something, the enthusiasm, and I bring the word again, energy, that we've been missing. And that three of Brannigan, Maguire and Lewis Bates, they've got a real sense of work rate. And in a Carl Robinson system, in a game like we did and had yesterday, that's absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. Marcus Maguire, again, was really good. Sam Long at centre-back played that with ease. Elliot Moore was comfortable. Dejan Anderson was absolutely brilliant. Again, the pace, the skill he's got on the right-hand side, he dominated it. Kieran Brown at left-back was solid as per usual. As for Charlton, I do want to touch on Charlton. Dean Holden's got a lot of work to do. He's got a lot of work to do indeed. He needs to sort this Charlton side out really quickly. They do not look confident. They look really disorganised. And I was surprised by that. I really was. And not because I'm absolutely unaware and oblivious to where Charlton are in the league table and their recent form. But I thought Dean Holden, a draw against Peterborough, I know he wasn't in charge of the Brighton game before that, but they held out a pretty full-strength Brighton side for 90 minutes and beat them on penalties. But I thought we'd see a much more organised Charlton side yesterday, and we didn't. For large parts, they were all over the shop. For large parts, they were really confused. I think the roles were so they looked complicated. I'm not going to have a go at Dean Holden. He's definitely the expert here, but they did not look they didn't really know what they were trying to do and where they were trying to play. And in transition, they got turned over so many times in that first half. In the second half, like I say, Miles Lieberman came on. He actually changed the game slightly for Charlton. I say slightly. He didn't, turn the game completely on its head, but he did play a big role in that. And he actually sort of gave Charlton a different outlet. He gave Charlton a different outlet in the match. He came on, scored a really good header, and he sort of gave them something a little bit different. And that really is what they needed, because in that first half, I think they made 3 changes at half-time. Clearly, Holden was not impressed. I wasn't impressed either, even though I didn't really, I wasn't that worried as an Oxford fan. I was just delighted with my team's performance. In the second half, there was an improvement, but then Gatling O'Donoghue came on. He scored a really important goal, and let's be honest, really, he scored 2 absolutely instinctive goals this season. They haven't been worldies, but they've been really important. He scored against Fleetwood, which turned out to be the equaliser in that game. I think it was the first goal, wasn't it? I think they equalised. Might have been the other way around. That's how crazy this season's been. Feels like a long time ago since that game happened. Either way, I know he scored in that game. It was quite a similar goal to the one he scored yesterday. The goalkeeper sort of spilled it, didn't keep hold of it, and he was there instinctively to absolutely belt it over the line. And that's what you need with someone like that off the bench. He brought energy, he brought strength, he brought pace, and again, he brought an element of enthusiasm to that front line. And I think Gatling O'Donoghue's ready for a start in League One. I really do. I would not be complaining if we saw him start on New Year's Day against Exeter City. Not that Matty Taylor didn't, play bad. I don't think he did play badly, Matty Taylor, but I think O'Donoghue provides something a little bit different now. I like Gatling O'Donoghue. I think he's got a really bright future at the football club. Finally, having a little look at the league table. 13th for Oxford United, 29 points now. So like I say, the top 6 race that I don't really think Oxford are favourite candidates are part of. We are still, 6 points away from that, but it does keep us in the mix. You don't want to drop any further because, it does become, really tedious stuff if you drop and you don't win that game yesterday or even draw it. You probably would say you're out of the race. As for Charlton, 18th in the league, their doom and gloom run only does continue. 25 points from them for them now. Yeah, it's not good for Charlton. I'm worried about them. They did a really big January transfer window, and even that I don't really think will get them where they wanted to be at the start of the season. Aspects of quality in that Charlton side, the real shining light really only being Miles Lieberman, but generally, other than that, I'm worried for Charlton. I really am. So it finishes Bristol Rovers 3, Exeter City 4. The XG for the game 1.87 to Exeter City's 2.19. Crazy. A 4-3 thriller. Absolutely incredible stuff. You can see 2 very late goals for Exeter City. Timothy De Jong equalises in the 85th minute, and then in the 2nd minute of injury time, San Nombe scores his 2nd of the game. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy indeed. And you can see by looking at the league table now, Exeter 11th in the league. They're actually winners, I believe, in the last 5. That's a really, really important win. It gets them back on track. We know that really since Gary Caldwell came in, we know how he wants to play as Exeter City manager. He wants to bring the excitement. Well, yesterday, he certainly did bring that. Maybe not as comfortable as he thought it would be at half-time. They were 2-0 up, but he won't care now. He'll look back and go, what an absolutely crazy game of football I've just managed and been a part of, and that's all he's going to be worried about. And he did certainly bring the excitement. I imagine the away end was really, really in, I'm going to say the word limbs in the last minute of injury time. You can see Bristol Rovers as well. 2 back-to-back defeats to them now. They lost to Wycombe. They now have lost to Exeter. And again, we speak about how a good run could get you in a really quite promising position. Not that they're not in a promising position now. They're only 4 points away from the top 6 still. But again, they're 12th. And those 2 defeats now will be really, really frustrating stuff. You can see by looking at the stats as well. 61% possession to the home side, Bristol Rovers. But the all-important scoreline and the shots as well. 14 shots to Exeter City. They didn't have as much of the ball, but they did test the goalkeeper more times. 5 big chances. That's very rare. 5 big chances down there as well. Incredible. By looking at the graph as well, Bristol Rovers actually going into the second half, the end of that first half, they're on top, and then Exeter scored their second of the game. So really, Exeter probably in that first half, it was fairly end to end, fairly even. First sort of 20-30 minutes of the game, Exeter in control. Then Bristol Rovers really did take control of that half, but they weren't able to score when they're on top. We know scoring in your best moments is really, really important. Exeter, they capitalised on them not doing that and scored their second of the game. Then 3 pretty quick goals. Scott Sinclair scored the last of the third goal in that second half from the penalty spot, and then I previously mentioned Timothy Dieng 3-0, Sam Nombe 4-3. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Aaron Collins also scored, Josh Coburn, 2 players who have been absolutely brilliant for Bristol Rovers so far this season. They thought they scored some really pivotal goals in a win for Bristol Rovers, but unfortunately not. Like I say, Exeter and that side had different ideas. It finishes Bristol Rovers 3, Exeter 4. Incredible stuff indeed. So, next, then let's go to Home Park because they faced Wycombe Wanderers. It was Plymouth Argyle 1, Wycombe Wanderers 0. Where is the game? Here it is. The XG for the game, 1.04 to Wycombe's 1.01. So, actually quite an even game when it comes to XG. When looking at the graph, Plymouth were on top, but I think that's really what we expect. We don't really normally see Wycombe have the majority of the momentum graph there. Normally the home side, or any side that play against Wycombe, do have the majority of the attacking momentum, but that's the way that Wycombe like to play, and that's the way that Wycombe feel they can be most effective. And the XG of 1.04 to 1.01 suggests it was actually quite a tight game when it comes to the actual chances that they had. You can see by looking when the goal came, actually when Plymouth were on top in that first half. Dan Scarr scored the goal, the centre half. And in the second half, really, Plymouth were good again, and then actually the game ended with Wycombe having a really good spell, and it looked like maybe Wycombe could go and get a late equalising goal, which could have been, some would say, a little bit undeserved when looking at that graph there. You can see by looking at the stats, 53% possession to the home side, 16 shots to 15, so actually, even with less possession, less momentum going forward, they had nearly the same amount of shots, only 1 on target, and that'll be the problem for Wycombe. When you have 15 shots and you don't play that dominating style that we know Gareth Ainsworth will never really play, you've got to have more than 1 shot on target, and that'll be the problem, and that'll be a little bit of a bedbug for him. When looking at the league table, Wycombe now 8th, a disappointing defeat for them. Plymouth first now, 3 wins on the trot, 53 points. Of course, Ipswich dropping points now sees their lead go to 4. So they're going to be really delighted by that Ipswich result, which we will come on to in the next game. But Plymouth, they know and they saw the importance of winning this game. It was never going to be easy. I think I predicted 1-1. Did I predict 1-1? I think I've got my predictions here actually. I went with 2-1 Plymouth, so I did see Plymouth win the game. I got that outcome right, didn't get the scoreline right, but I did say they win by 1 goal, which they did. But a really important win for Plymouth, and once again, grinding results out. Their home form only gets better. They lost 1 game at home this season. They've been really, really good. Key player, Dan Scarr's goal was really, really important. You can see, to be fair, Plymouth, they had to get the job done. Maybe they had to dig deep at times, but they had to score that goal, and, that's all that matters. And the sign of a side that are in that top end of the table do just that. Fair play to them. They win the game 1-0. And excited to see more of Plymouth because so far this season, as we hit the halfway point, they've been nothing short than absolutely brilliant. Right, then we all know where we're going to end up with the 4 selected games. Don't worry, we'll touch on all of the other games. But the last game, in complete and utter detail, we're going to speak about, of course, it's going to be Portsmouth against Ipswich Town. 2-2 it finished. I went with 1-1. I did go with 1-1. So, I'm claiming that I can't really claim it, but I'm claiming the outcome being right. I'm just going to get the XG for you. Now, it finishes 0.63 to Ipswich's 1.57 with that XG there. And you can see by looking at the graph, Ipswich, the away side, who absolutely tore Oxford apart in their last game, were pretty much on top for the majority of it. And Pompey, I mean, they held their own, but Ipswich, ultimately, they looked like the better side for the majority of the game. In that second half in particular, they didn't really let Pompey have a go. A brilliant Marlon Pack screaming, by the way. If you haven't watched that goal back, definitely go and do it. He scored an absolute stunner, and I mean, maybe moments out of nothing is what Pompey need at the moment, because they haven't been in great form. Their winless run does continue, and they're not playing the same type of football they were at the start of the year. But I think at the same time, you've got to look at the opposition in this game. They probably will take 2-2. Maybe in the grand scheme of things, when you look at the goals and the sloppiness of the goal they conceded, especially the second one, they actually might think they could have got more from the game. But looking at the graph there, looking at the XG, Ipswich, they were the better side. They were on top, and going forward, they did look like the more ruthless. So Ipswich will feel 2-2 is a fair result. They could have argued maybe even more than that. And Pompey as well, they'll argue that potentially with the disappointment of the goalkeeping, which wasn't totally his fault, because the rebound of Conor Chaplin's goal would have to have been cut out. You'd like to think from a defensive point of view. Still, Griffiths can't really be letting that one go. He's got to claim that. Pompey will probably see that as a little bit of a mistake and something definitely that could have been avoided. But again, I look at the graph, I look at when the goals came. Marlon Pack's goal was absolutely brilliant. It was a set piece for the second goal that Pompey, for the second goal in the game, and the one that Pompey conceded. It was Burgess that scored it. Again, that will be frustrating from a Pompey perspective for Ipswich with how good they have been from set pieces. We unfortunately were at the back end of it last time. They scored a really good corner. Wes Burns, it's really well organised. You can see from set pieces, they really are in danger. This one a free kick, and there'll be claims for offside. I couldn't really see from the highlights and the replay of the goal, but either way, it was a really, really good, well-worked set piece. If it was onside, either way, it goes in the back of the net. They won't be worried too much. And then Pompey scored their second of the game. Colby Bishop bags again. I don't know exactly how many goals he scored this season, but it isn't his first. That's just the later. In fact, I can sort of see exactly how many goals he scored this season. Can I? I might be able to, but he does score a really, really important goal. And I want to say, is it 9 goals he scored this season now? I could be completely wrong with that. But either way, he's got a really, really important goal, and that looked like it could have been the winner. Is it 9 goals? It might be more than that. I might have absolutely butchered that prediction. It feels like 9, but it could be. It's 10. I wasn't far off. He scored his 10th goal of the season, a very, very important one. And then in the 87th minute, we have touched on it, Conor Chaplin tucks away the equaliser that Ipswich will feel they deserve. But again, it's poor goalkeeping. It is poor goalkeeping. I saw Tom's video from 4-0 written over it. Really good vlog, by the way. Definitely go and check it out. As I always try and promote, and always will promote, that YouTube channel of great quality following Pompey, a good friend of mine. And he sort of is blaming the defence as well as the goalkeeper, and that is fair, but you've got to keep hold of that. The follow-up is poor, and to allow him to have the shot like Tom did say in his video is also a little bit of a concern, but still, it is a little bit flappy goalkeeping, if you like. That's not the best term I can use, but it does feel a little bit flappy, if that's what I can, if that's the best way of describing that. Like I say, the winless run does continue for Pompey. Now 7 wins and 10 draws. Another draw for them. Back-to-back draws, of course, a 0-0 draw against Exeter was their last result. As for Ipswich, again, I mean, they drew the game, and again, they are sniffing down Plymouth's neck, but not as much as Plymouth won. And of course, they did drop points. That gap is now 4. So they will be frustrated by that. And they felt they did have chances to go and win the game. 70% possession to the away side. Ipswich, they were on top. They were absolutely on top. 14 shots to 7. They dominated Pompey in most ways statistically. And really, by looking at the game, it did look like that as well. But it finishes 2-2. And Pompey, they'll feel that's a really good result. And they certainly would have taken that at the start of the game. Ipswich, they might leave this game a little bit annoyed. Right, let's have a little look at the other games. We can't discriminate the other. How many games have we got left to speak about? 6 games? 6 games. We were 10 yesterday. We're speaking about 4. Let's speak about Sheffield Wednesday. Briefly, they won against Port Vale 2-0. A little bit of I mean, there's a few people maybe writing Sheffield Wednesday off. Port Vale has sort of been the underdog side that teams are now trying to get on the back of and trying to back a little bit, but they weren't able to do that. First half, Sheffield Wednesday in control, and they did win the game 2-0. They scored the penalty, Michael Smith, in that first half, and then in the second half, game over. Port Vale a little bit more in the game in that second 45, but Sheffield Wednesday scored their all-important second goal, didn't let Port Vale back into the game, and they won it comfortably 2-0. Important for Sheffield Wednesday, grinding that down and grinding those results, which is really, really important. Barnsley 2, Fleetwood 1. Again, Fleetwood scoring away from home, but unfortunately not in the way they would have wanted to, and not the result they would have wanted either. Barnsley scored 2 more in the game, and again, they were really, really good. Really, really good. I was really impressed by Barnsley, and you can see by looking at the graph as well. When they did come forward, they did look fairly impressive, and Barnsley in recent weeks have looked very good as well. Peterborough United 2, MK Dons 0. Peterborough pretty much wiping the floor of the new manager, Mark Jackson's MK Dons side, which will be a little bit annoying. But we know Peterborough United, again, they've got serious quality, haven't been in great form, and now that form can be put to bed, or that winless run can be put to bed. They win the game, and I believe now that back into that top 6 will come into the league table in just a second, because there have been a few big movements, including this one. Burton are now out of their bottom 4 for the first time this season, 2-1 against relegation candidates Forest Green Rovers. Not a good result for them. I'm concerned by Forest Green Rovers, and maybe Burton could be on a little bit of a survival hunt. We've spoken about those 2 games as well. Morecambe 2, Accrington Stanley 0. Not a good result for Accrington. I believe they're now in that bottom 4. Morecambe still bottom of the league, but all important points. And again, they've sort of won a little bit of ground on the teams above them. And finally, yesterday, Shrewsbury 0, saw a red card. Cheltenham Town 1, saw a red card as well. But for Cheltenham, a really, really important result. Shrewsbury, probably the better side, but Cheltenham, when it matters, they scored the goal. You can see when the goal came, when they were on top just before half-time, and then a moment of madness, both red cards happening at similar times in that second half. Shrewsbury will feel they should have got more out of the game. They're definitely on top, but Cheltenham scored when it matters. You can see the league table as well now. Like I say, Accrington and Burton out of that bottom 4. Sorry, Accrington falling into that bottom 4. Burton now out of that relegation zone. And you can see by looking at the top 6 as well, Peterborough United in 6th spot. But remember, Derby play tonight, so they've got a good chance of maybe leapfrogging Peterborough United again. We'll wait and see what happens there. Ladies and gentlemen, please do leave a like. 100 likes would be incredible. Please do subscribe as well. So much content like this coming to the channel. Remember, Derby fans, Cambridge, Lincoln and Bolton, I haven't forgotten about you. You will be spoken about on the live show tomorrow. The content's been flying at you. Daily uploads, I think, for the last 6 days. Incredible stuff. I've enjoyed it so much. And yeah, I'll see you very, very soon. Got a little bit of a cold. That's why I'm speaking a little bit differently. A cold, a blocked nose. But anyway, we power through and we continue. Thank you so much. I'll see you all very, very soon. Take care.